Hey, thanks for tuning into the channel. So you can see next to me here, I've got my 1978 AMC Concord that we are turning into a budget drag car with this 390 AMC V8 out of a 69 Scrambler. We're going to continue working on it. Going to start working on the front suspension. I figured it is the best path forward for the time being while I'm still waiting for some parts, basically for the engine. Long story, but we know when the time comes for the engine, we'll get there. But now is a good time as any. Might as well, I mean, it's got to get done at some point. So we're going to start working on the front suspension and see if we can't get that dialed in and keep on going. If you're new to the channel, this is American Made Classics. Pretty much I work on anything that is American made or classic, or also whatever I just want to work on. But normally American made stuff, American made classics. If you want to catch up to where this project has been, there should be, either I can put it up here, I think I just point up right here, there might be something that pops up on the screen, or a link in the description if you want to catch up on what we have been doing to this car to get where we are today. So this is part 4, and we're going to start working on the front suspension. So let's get to it, and my knees are killing me, so I got something to get up. So yes, welcome back to the channel. Here is the, well, I really haven't given this thing a proper name yet. I don't know, it's going to have the heartbeat of a 69 Scrambler, and it is an AMC, just a different version of a Scrambler, you know, so maybe this is the SCAM, the scam, you know. It's, you know, I haven't determined a name for this thing. It's just whatever. It's just the AMC budget drag car for now. Or maybe scam. I don't know. Either way, floor is looking fantastic. I just can't get enough of that. Obviously, we're going to eventually have to do something over there. But, you know, for what this car is going to be for now, I'm just going to leave that alone. At least I have a place to put my feet. That's good. And if I ever get to the point where I'm going to be putting in a roll cage, you know, obviously we'll have to address that over there. So that is good enough for now. And all right, so front suspension. Get a little peek in here, what's going on. Yep, just looks like a normal V8 cross member for a small body AMC. We got power steering. We're gonna get rid of that. I've got over here on my parts bench, which is a big mess. So yeah, don't look too long at that. Anyway, that is a manual steering gearbox, which we'll be utilizing that, and I've got all the associated linkage down here that was supposedly new from the guy I bought it from. Well, the gearbox is not new. I'm pretty sure that is original. It's at some point, because I can actually have a little bit of end shaft play, so it's used. But either way, it's better than what we got going on here for a drag car setup. Yeah, also I'm getting over a cold, so I don't know if you just noticed that, but I'm still sniffling, and I will I'm still hoarse. I'm getting over it. Anyway. Yeah, also the steering column. So I just put this back in here real quick. I had it out. But this thing has got the floppage going on. And while I'm hearing it could be an easy fix, I don't like it. It's got this on here, and you know, it's a column shift column. We'll get rid of that. What I have over here is well, it's still tilt. I'd rather not have it tilt, but you know, what are we going to do? But anyway, the shaft is removed from this one already, and what we have going on here is a tilt wheel, but it's not broken. So I'm going to end up using this one. It's also not a column shift. This one came from an AMC Eagle SX4, and all Eagles were floor shift. We'll be using him, putting him in here. And also the reason why is because that shaft is removed, and I probably lost the shaft now, but it'll be around here somewhere. I'll find it. But anyway, that shaft has a U-joint set up, and that's what we'll use to connect to the this gearbox. I gotta organize a little bit. This is getting pretty messy, but around here somewhere is that, I'll find it. It's around here somewhere for that shaft. But anyway, that is the premise of what we have going on. And like I said, I really can't make any more headway on my engine. Missing some stuff, waiting for some stuff. But what we can do is get started here and get this front suspension taken care of, because it's got to get done anyway. And I've gotten pretty good at rebuilding front suspensions on these things, so I should be able to knock her out in record time. And if you have a small body AMC and you want to redo your suspension, this will probably be right up your alley. And maybe I can help you out too if you're doing this project. So with that said, I'm going to get this front end in the air and get started. Let's go. All right, now that I have the two upper shock bolts off, I'm gonna start getting the tire off, and then we'll get you in there and we'll take a look around. And now with the tire off, we can get up in here and take a look around. You can kind of see just your generic type of stuff. Spring with a shock, upper control arm. There's your lower control arm right there. Your steering tie rod, brakes, and of course your rotor. And it's going to have a bearing in here with a nut, stuff like that. Pretty standard stuff. But anyway, we're going to start diving into this one and getting her apart. I'm going to spray some Coil on this thing. And for this year of brakes, like I said, I believe it's 77, for sure 78, potentially even 79. But these ones had this weird, goofy bolt. And I think, if I remember right, when I did this on my 78 AMX, I just loosened this up. And I think I just got a hammer in here and I pounded this out. So what appears to fit is a 1/4 inch hex. 1/4 inch hex. Okay. Okay. There we go. Now, can I get this out of here? Okay, and as you can see, it's kind of got like this little metal bar that acts as a spring. It sits in there like that. So, here we go. And I think if I remember, it may or may not come off now. There we go. Cool. This cap off. Gotta get the cotter pin out. And now the nut. Well, we'll pull it off at least a little bit, get it started, then push it back on. Now I can get the bearing and the washer together. And what we're left with here is our bare spindle. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, let's get this tie rod off. This thing has been on here for a long time. By the way, the nut size is 11/16. Should be for every single one of these ever known to exist. Well, I've broken out my tie rod end remover. Let's see if I have any luck with this. Problem is, it's not really on there very straight. I might have to remove this, I'm not sure yet. There. Alright, so now we can easily, well, maybe not completely easily, but we're able to move this back and forth by hand. This seems to be a little tighter than maybe what I would like it. What we're going to be looking at now, we've got the 4 bolts that hold the spindle and the dust shield on. We're going to get those off. We got 2 of them that are longer, so this one here and this one here, and that holds on the bracket for the steering arm, we'll call it steering arm, so that's what your tie rod connects to right here, and that's got to come off, of course. So those 2 bolts are a little bit longer. Okay, with all 4 bolts loose, I'm just gonna lightly tap on these because I don't want to mess up the threads. And that might be easier said than done. So I'll have to come back to those, but the other 2 did come right out. What I'm gonna do is put these back on because I really don't want to mess up the threads. Holy, wow, that was the worst one I have ever seen for these. The bolt was rusted so hard inside here that I had to heat the crap out of it and then beat the crap out of it, and of course that messed up the threads. Whew. Yeah, that's that ain't fun. Okay, so now that that's out, should be able to, I already got these 2 out. Everything should literally just fall apart now. Or not. So now that this bolt is boogered up, for a lack of better words, it's really having a hard time getting through there. So well, I can guarantee you I am going to take a little break after that one. Well, here we go. We got her down to this, to the knuckle, and I don't want to say it's going to be smooth sailing from here because it's probably not. Okay, so well, the next thing I want to start doing is I want to start working on, you know, getting my ball joint nuts loose and, you know, yada yada, get working on that. But one thing I forgot about, unfortunately, I forgot about my shock, and that sucks because, well, let me tell you why it sucks. So I put a jack on here, you know, it's a jack. It's lifting up on the lower control arm, and essentially I'm trying to compress the spring. Why, you ask? Well, the reasoning for that is there are 2 nuts on the bottom that hold that shock in place, and, well, I can't get at them. You see this right here? That is what I call Squidward's nose. Don't ask me why, but it just kind of looks like Squidward's nose, okay? But anyway, Squidward's nose is blocking the back side to get anything up in here unless you have the coil spring compressed a little bit, so then it will essentially take this and move it up a little bit. And then that's how you're able to get back at that back nut. Well, because this car has no engine in it, there's literally no weight. And plus I think these are also V8 springs, so I think they're also a little bit more, harder to compress. And this isn't going to cut it to try to get this compressed. So that's a little bit of a dilemma I did not think of. All right, so it's been like 2-3 weeks, I think, since I've last been out here working on the car. And anyway, I just was thinking about it. I came up with a better idea, and I hate this style of spring compressor. Very dangerous, but man, it's really hard to believe that I used to use this. Let's just say these are not the way to go, but I still have them, and I actually found a practical use for them. Now I don't have the spring compressed very far, so they're well within its, hopefully I would call it safe zone. But essentially I just kind of compress the spring just enough on both sides that I was able to take my jack and just lift the upper control arm probably, it looks like about 1.5 inches. That 1.5 inches was just enough to get my ratchet, my socket in there, and get off that back nut. So, boy, am I happy with that, and I already have this one loosened. Had to think of something to get that back nut off, but definitely happy I got this off, and at least now I can use the proper spring compressor when it comes time to pull that spring out of there, but at least I'll get the shock out of there. And that also means I can continue disassembling the knuckle and the lower control arm and the bush or the strut rod and so forth. So perfect. That answers that question. Let's continue. Well, I think the next order of business is let's get this sway bar link off. There we go. And this is something I can put in the pile that we can use later because this is still good. So the next thing on the list here is we're going to loosen up the upper and lower ball joint nuts, castle nuts, and not necessarily take them off. I guess we could probably take them off. It really doesn't matter, but you could remove the strut rod right now, the entire thing, loosen it here, but I think we're just going to end up fighting with it. And I kind of want to use something to hold this in place as I'm trying to break these nuts free. So I'm at least just going to get these broken free and then get the strut rod out of there. As far as I know, these should be 7/8. Wow. Heat is your best friend. Now the next step I'm going to get the lower ball joint and the knuckles separated. I'm going to use just a good old-fashioned pitchfork and a mallet and go to town. This lower ball joint is actually still good. The rubber boot is completely shot, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I would call this like a solid 8. But anyway, ball joint was still actually good, but we're changing her out. I think it's safe to say this car was in need of bushings. I think what's next on the list is I want to go after this, the upper part on the upper ball joint here. That's hot. So the next part of the operation, I'm going to get the strut rod out of here, and I'm actually going to take off the mount. There's 3 mounting bolts. So this bolt here is up on the top side of the rail, and if you have your engine in here, there could be exhaust headers in the way. You know, stuff like that. It'll probably be a little bit difficult to see, but there is a bolt head up on the top side of this rail on the inside, and that's going to be 5/8. Okay, we're getting down to the final stretch where what we gotta do now is we're gonna get the coil spring out. And what I have here in my hand is what I would call the traditional way of, or the proper way to take a coil spring out of an AMC. So we're gonna actually go from the top down, we're gonna install this, and we're going to set them in the, basically it takes the place of the shock. So once this gets compressed enough and this is actually lifted off of the upper control arm, take the bolts out, and then you're able to not drop the control, you actually pull it pretty much straight out. So let's do that. now that the spring compressor is in place, I got these just finger tight. So now the next step is I would like to get these nuts on this cross pin for the saddle seat loosened up. Well, so exactly what I thought what was going to happen is normal. Twisted the nut right off. It unfortunately is a normal occurrence with this, so anyway, I got this one off, and that one of course broke, so this is ready to go. And now I gotta turn my attention to the nuts that hold on the upper control arm, nuts and bolts. I'm gonna get the nuts pulled off, so when this thing is compressed up, all I gotta do is just knock the bolts out on both of the mounts and pull this out. Well, this is obviously much easier to get in here when the engine's not in, but essentially we got a 3/4 inch bolt and nut on each side for the upper control arm mount. And essentially I'm just gonna take off the nuts now, just so it's ready to go. And we're gonna leave the actual bolt in place for now. All right, so everything is ready. I got those nuts taken off on the upper control arms. I've got the spring compressor in place. Everything's ready to go. So basically, I'm gonna set you here, and you can watch this separate as I perform manual labor with a crescent wrench to tighten the bolt and compress the spring. Ready, go. And now just gotta decompress the spring. What a pain in the freaking row. All right, as we look in here, everything's taken apart. Everything's out, with the exception of this little bump stop here and, well, the thing that attaches to, I've always called this Squidward's nose, because, you know, well, it looks like, yeah. So anyway, just gotta take that off. That's obviously just three bolts there, and then there'll be I think there's a clip holding this on, and you can still get these, of course, off of like a Rock Auto or an AMC parts vendor. So they still sell the rubber bump stop, and of course, got to get the brake hose off, and I'll have to work on the sway bar here, as I noticed that there's only one bolt holding it on. It looks like at one time they tried to probably change the bushings, I'm assuming, and broke one off. Not really sure what happened there, but this is all taken apart and essentially ready for me to start going through all this stuff. And oh, one more thing I can talk about. Now that you got the upper control arm off, you're gonna want to get in here and clean. Yep, this is why AMC's rot out. It is completely full of dirt. Look at this. Definitely want to clean in there while you're got all this taken apart. So eventually, yes, I will clean this all up. And what I mean by clean it up, I'm just going to spray it with some brake clean and then fogger black. But all right, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching basically part 1 of the suspension video montage series. Whatever. It was just a good idea. We're going to shut her down here. I've got a lot of work to do ahead of me. I'm going to sandblast and paint all these parts, put all the new bushings in the lower control arms and whatever. But, yep, doing one side at a time. It's easier to keep track of parts that way. I know what I have to do. All the parts don't look the same. You know, does this go here? Does that go there? You get the idea. So, anyway, we're going to start shutting her down. Thank you guys so much for watching. And any links or any part numbers and stuff like that I will have in the description below. Hopefully that can help some of you out who are trying to tackle this. Or if you're just here because you're along for the ride and you want to see where the heck this thing goes, that's cool too. I appreciate all of you guys for watching. And we'll see you on the next one. Hopefully soon. Can't guarantee that. It's taken me quite a few weeks to even get here at this point. But trying my best to get all these videos, well, put together. Spending the time on them and so forth. So as long as you guys enjoy them, perfect. That makes me happy. So, all right, guys, we'll catch you later.